It is time to talk about our indie releases for June of 2025. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is a delayed indie release list for June 2025. I apologize that this is so late this month. I did get COVID when I was meant to film it, and the vocals were not working for long videos where I have to talk for more than 20 minutes. So it is a little bit late, but that does mean we have an extensive list of the releases that are already out. You can go ahead and pick up. As always, these lists do not come from me. They come from Rob J. Hayes and AJ Calvin over on their respective blogs, which I will have linked down below if you want to go ahead and check them out. If you do have an indie release coming out before the end of the year or forevermore, go ahead and check these links out as well, because you can go ahead and pop them on, and I will give them a video platform each and every month. We do have quite a few to get through today, and as always, some very exciting releases in here. There's a few that I'm very interested in as well, so we will go ahead and go through the list. Up on June 1st, we have Legacy of Blood. This is by Jessica Barbary, and it says Ronan is the king, or Ronan, is the teenage crown prince of Perinthia and son of the legendary dragon rider king who saw an end to his country's tyranny. The boy is struggling to get out from under his father's shadow and is convinced the only way he can become great himself is to also become dragon-bound. However, there is a problem. In this world, such a thing is not only rare, but it is seen as a holy honor, which elevates the rider to the mantle of prophet, and Ronan's character is far from noble. When he is told no, he decides to take matters into his own hands, and takes that which he desires, fleeing his home on a fishing boat across the sea. Now isolated from the protection of his family and homeland, Ronan is about to find out how much less forgiving of his transgression the world is, without his privilege to hide behind. Following on from that, on June the 3rd, we had Dragon Along by Joseph John Lee, and this is another entry into the Cozy Fantasy middle grade series, which just looks adorable as well. Covers will all be up here. This is Dragons of Nora Book 2. Sometimes the promise of a different story doesn't quite go the way you had planned. It's a Book 2. Cover is delightful. The cover for Book 1 was delightful as well, but we will need to mosey on over from there. On June 6th, we have a horror entry called The Residence of James Hotel by M.G. Mason, which looks like this. I really quite like the faded parchment paper with like a sketch drawing in there. I think that looks delightful. This is a haunted house, or haunted building, I should say, in the subgenre there. Vince is stranded at a bus stop one cold and wet, stormy November evening when a mysterious stranger offers him a lift and a room for the night. The stranger is one Michael James, a local aristocrat and owner of the James Hotel in the nearby town Excombe. It is an old hotel of mysterious figures and strange voices. It's a place where the owner and his equally mysterious reception manager repeatedly states, not stares, nobody ever wants to leave. What is the secret of the James Hotel? Who are the residents? And more importantly, what secrets lurk within the fabric of its historic walls? Now, I will say, personally, I don't really like haunted house tales, but I don't mind the old haunted hotel. So this one looks quite interesting. On June 8th, we have a post-apocalyptic, it says sci-fi post-apocalyptic entry, which is Strength by Greg Ramsey. What would you do with infinite life? A scientist looking to help the medical industry develops nanotech, only to have it stolen and modified by political forces around the world until it provides limitless life and immense strength for armed forces. Wars will be waged over the technology until a mad president ends the world in a nuclear fire. Interesting. And timely. But even that won't stop the wars. Born in a ditch, our protagonist faces a life full of suffering and loss, a future unknown. But as he grows and sees life from different viewpoints, he will rise to take on the evil king of a post-apocalyptic America. The question is, even with a body and heart as strong as his, will he be enough against more than one immortal dictator? Interesting. I like it. Again, timely. On June the 9th, we have The Lineman by Christina K. Glover, a delightful cover in a fantasy or urban fantasy series. This is book number 3. There's only one thing Henry Yu has learned. It's that nothing is easy when it involves Chief Operator Kittinger. Can't go into too much detail there, but it does look Interesting. On the 11th of June, we have a book that I'm very much looking forward to reading when I get to it. This is A Graveyard for Heroes, Book 2 of the Dreams of Dust and Steel series by Michael Michel. Price of Power is still a book that I talk about to this day to anyone who will listen, so I'm looking forward to reading the second installment of the series. This is epic fantasy, grimdark, and sword and sorcery, and the first line says, "Treachery looms across the land." Does it what? On the 12th of June, we have The Three Leaders, Union of Man, Book 4 by A.M. Knight in the epic fantasy. Beautiful cover here. I love the pop of pink in the greys and the blacks here and the whites. Just stunning. I really, really enjoy this quite a lot. It is a book 4. I don't have a one-liner to give you for the blurb there, so we will mosey on off, but mosey on over, but it does look absolutely delightful. On the 16th of June, on the 14th of June, we have A Fairytale for Snow White by Aisha Uroj. I apologize if I butchered that pronunciation. It's quite a lovely cover as well here. This is a fairy tale retelling. This is Edwin Fenrich is the perfect prince, but beneath the polished facade he hides a secret. He's never been a fan of fairy tales or believed in true love. For this crown prince, duty and practicality have always come before matters of the heart, but everything changes when he hears whispers of a mysterious girl in the forest. Suddenly, the rule-bound prince is captivated, and for the first time, he dares to break free from his regimented life, plunging headfirst into the most daring adventure of his life. A journey that will challenge everything he thought he knew about love, courage, and himself. Get ready for a story where magic, mystery, and rebellion collide, because sometimes the greatest fairy tale is one you write yourself. That sounds delightful. On the 16th of June, we have A Silent Song in Winter. This is Dragons of Rokan, book number 2 by M.H. Woodscourt. This is epic fantasy with another delightful cover here. We've got the white with the frost and also the gold edging, or the gold, corners there. Absolutely delightful. First line says Dragon, Prince, Survivor, but we will need to move on from there. On the 17th of June, we have the author of this list, A.J. Calvin, with Wraith and Revolution. This is a space opera cyberpunk standalone novel, and I hope to read this one in July prior to a podcast episode talking about cyberpunk as a genre or a subgenre, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It says, Kai Virex is trapped. Due to a fluke of genetics, the decisions of the galaxy's elite, and a lack of finances, he's stuck on his polluted and noxious homeworld indefinitely, and it's slowly killing him. Then his more fortunate sister returns one day, bringing the promise of salvation. Kelsey has always hoped to find the means to pull him out from his desperate cycle of survival, but it has taken years. Now she has a plan, one that will cure his genetic condition and clear him for interstellar travel. The catch? He has to sign over his very existence and a portion of his humanity to Xyla Inc., the galaxy's most prominent and notorious corporation. In exchange for the necessary treatment, is his cure worth the cost? Interesting. Also on June 17th, we have Thone Hunters, book number 2 by Phil Tucker. This is epic fantasy, and like most of Phil Tucker's works that I've come across in the progression/cultivation subgenre, and it also looks very cool. I would like to check out this series one day. I can't read too much into this because I believe the first stock may be a spoiler, the first line. I don't know how to speak in this episode. I'm still coming down from COVID. I'm so sorry. On June the 19th, we have another series continuation and another very cool cover in The Shadow of the Black Flag. This is Legacy of Light and Shadow, book number 2 by Steve McKinnon. This is another author that I need to pick up. Epic fantasy, grimdark, and sword and sorcery. Is this person standing on a big rock watching a dragon fight a boat? You tell me. It looks very, very cool. Also on the 19th of June, one that I've just got the e-arc for, I'm very excited to get into, is Return of the Sistah Samurai. Look at this cover. This is so beautiful. The Champloo Mixes number 2 by Tatiana Obi, and this is Sword and Sorcery. It says Afro Samurai meets the Boondocks in this anime-inspired novel. This one is longer than the first novella. I think it's about 300 pages, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it. But it is a book 2 and a continuation from Sistah Samurai. So I'm excited for it, if you can't tell already. And hopefully you are also excited to get back to the world of Sistah Samurai. On the 20th of June, we have Season of Vengeance by A.J. Retker, and this is epic fantasy and grimdark as well. So I believe I've seen a cover like this. I don't think it's a book 2. It doesn't say it's a book 2, so we're going in. A throne stolen, an exile in chains, a kingdom on the brink of war. After a victorious campaign against the islanders to the north, King Albert returns to find his crown usurped and his city in flames. Rallying his battle-weary troops, he swears to reclaim his throne and cement his legacy as Artenzia's greatest king. Far away on the Isles, grim White Eyes sits in chains, betrayed by an ally and condemned to death by a man he once considered his brother. As the axe looms near, he waits for the slimmest chance to escape and take his revenge. Meanwhile, shadowy newcomers emerge, hungry for glory and power, their ambitions threatening to upend an already fragile world. The season of vengeance is here. Be careful not to let it consume you. That sounds like fun. On the 21st of June, we have one I know a lot of people are talking about right now. That is While Darkness Gathers by Philip Chase. This is a Adan trilogy prequel, which is set, obviously, prior to the Adan trilogy, but it is the start of a new series. I don't know how many books it's going to be, or as a standalone. Maybe someone who knows can put it down in the comments below. It says, oh, the fantasy names. Sir Gorsahad, eldest of dragons, lays waste to the north, even as King Orvandil Dragonbane seeks to shield his people from the creature's wrath. Foes from the wildlands assault the kingdom of Grimrick, leaving the troughs between the hammer and the anvil. I am so sorry, Dr. Chase. In faraway fuck me. In faraway Astralad, Rial holds the power to save Orvandil's people from the ancient beast. Knowing the danger of unleashing the young sorceress on Ormonlond, Queen Sequera stands in the way of her pupil. All the while, the vast presence in Rial's dreams looms nearer, overshadowing all in its path. 16 years after the War of the Way, the legacy of the Prophet of Adan lies upon the land, and each must find their light while darkness gathers. That was an awful reading from me about this book, but if you're excited about it, it looks beautiful, and here it is. And it's a prequel, as we've mentioned. Moving on. Also on the 21st of June, we have Dirt You Shall Become by Karen Lekebo. I apologize for the pronunciation there. This is Lovecraftian horror/comedy, and that's already got me pretty intrigued. What terrors hide under the mulch of the compost? What if the weeds aren't just stubborn, they're fighting you back? And that garden gnome in the corner by the bush, he's watching you. Step into 5 gardens where beauty is deceiving, life becomes death, and the darkness under the dirt is just the beginning. On the 22nd of June, we have History Prime by K.A. Wood, and this is fantasy sci-fi, with the alternate history being the subgenre listed here. The year is 2034, and scientific breakthroughs have flatlined. Humanity believes it has reached the limits of knowledge. Advances are nothing more than faster, smaller version of centuries-old inventions. Real breakthroughs are a thing of the past until Dr. Glenn Larson, a historian at the Museum of Human History, uncovers a 400-year-old textbook that shouldn't exist. The discovery raises impossible questions. Was Isaac Newton taught calculus, the laws of gravity and motion? Have the greatest minds in history been guided by a hidden source of knowledge, and who is behind the effort to suppress it? As Glenn digs deeper, he finds himself hunted by a powerful secret society determined to keep humanity stagnant. Alongside a circle of close friends, including a rogue tech trillionaire, he embarks on a global search for 5 legendary textbooks rumored to hold the key to human advancement. That's pretty cool. Their journey unravels a conspiracy stretching back centuries, one that could upend everything we know about science, progress, and the very fabric of history. What if our greatest inventions weren't discovered, but gifted? Inventions? Yeah. Which version of history have you been living in? That sounds pretty neat. Now, I do need to jump back to the 20th of June. Apologies, I did miss one. This is Tooth and Nail, Book 3 in the Continuum series by Zachary and Joshua Forbes. Looks like this, continuing on Thomas's story. I cannot go too much into this as it is a book 3, and selfishly, I do want to go ahead and read this one sometime soon, so I'm not going to read the blurb because I don't want anything spoiled before I go into it. On the 23rd of June, we have The Witch at the Edge of the Wood by Liz Delton. This is cozy fantasy. It looks very delightful. I quite like this cover here with the pops of colour and the muted brown and red tones in the background there. Svelina has escaped the workhouse on the hunt for one thing, the witch who can grant her wish to live a normal life. Born with silver hair and noticeably pointy ears, she's passed from workhouse to workhouse since she can remember. Shunned for her mysterious heritage, but the witch's cottage she finds at the edge of the wood is abandoned, and as soon as she starts making herself at home, someone else comes calling. A noble with a wish of his own. With the promise of his coin, she agrees to help him, and she starts noticing something strange about the cottage. Felina must find a way to help the noble and others who come calling, but can she help herself? Also on the 23rd of June, we have Reflections of Lilje. Apologies, Natalie. Damselfly by Natalie Kelder. And this is a standalone fantasy novel, which is cozy historical fantasy with a sapphic romance and also disability rep in here, which just sounds delightful. It says, when a mysterious ailment refuses to leave water nymph Lilje, apologies, her father sends her to a human spa retreat. Lilje quickly discovers she has a lot to learn about human nature and culture when she accidentally scandalizes the Edwardian spa guests by showing up undressed. In hope of relieving her chronic pain and fatigue, she tries her best to fit in and silence her ability to speak with the elements, plants, and animals around her. But when the secret of her heritage is revealed, Lilje falls in love with a human. She faces a difficult choice. And Lilje falls in love with a human. She faces a difficult choice. Give up everything she thought she was, or live forever in pain and regret of what could have been. Also on the 23rd, we have A Rescue in Vizen. This is the 8th Chant, book number 3 by Christopher Warman and Alan Marsh. This is my cover pick for the month. It is, I just have to know what's going on here. This is epic fantasy and sword and sorcery, but it is a book 3. Just how glorious is that cover? On the 24th of June, we have Hero at Heart by Margaret Magadan, and this is Tales from Beyond the End, book number 2, and it's a fairy tale retelling in the zombie apocalypse, which is very interesting to put those two together. This is the cover. I can't go too much into detail, as it is a book 2. Also on the 24th of June, we have Maryneal 1962 by Abigail F. Taylor, which is in the historical horror and sapphic subgenres here. Warned by a soothsayer at a travelling fair that something evil is about to come to Maryneal, 16-year-old dealer Nix chalks it up to the carny theatrics and ignores the woman's suggestion to leave before dark. But then her sister is savagely attacked on their way home, and her murder leaves the small farming community stunned. The authorities scramble to place the blame on a deranged man, the carnival workers, and even the nearby indigenous community. Dealer, however, starts to suspect that something supernatural is afoot when a childhood friend, bitten in an attempt to save Dealer's sister, gains powers and a thirst for the country livestock. As much as he is enjoying his super speed and perfect hearing, Dealer senses that there will come a point of no return and begins to desperately search for a way to save her friend before he hurts himself or the girl they both love. With a full moon approaching and no salvation in sight, Dealer is faced with an I can't say this word. Unconscious. I'll put the word on the screen. Decision. If she can't find a cure, she'll have to kill the boy next door. Also on June the 24th, which is a book that I'm currently reading, I'm nearly at the end of. It's very good. It's a book 3. It's Only a Grave Will Do by James Lloyd Doolan. This is the final book of the Malatu series, and it's so good. Anyway, the tagline, on the march towards war, blood is both a promise and a gamble. And I can't go too much more into detail from that. Also on the 24th of June, looks like it's a big day, the 24th of June, is Struggle for Existence by Jeff Jones. And this is the Preservation of Species, book number 2. I have book 1. I really want to read it. I also want to read this one because it looks very good, but I don't want to read the blurb, selfishly, again, because I do want to read this. This is post-apocalyptic and first contact in the science, sci-fi, and horror genres. So, very promising. Looking forward to getting to that one. Also on the 24th of June, another one, and a close second to the cover pick, is a new one by Shami Staval. This is Words of Power, book number 1, in the progression and cultivation subgenre. This is Power is not given, it's taken. In the Tse Empire, spirits and demons rule the wilds, but ring warlocks control civilization. For Ramon, the son of a courtesan and lowest in society, ring warlocks seem like gods. Each has their own magic draw from titans, and they can do whatever they please, regardless of how it affects the prefectures they rule. When a chance encounter places one of the ancient and powerful rings in Rimon's hands, everything changes. For there is a trick to the rings, and Rimon sees through the test given to him. Suddenly, he is no longer a player at the fringes of power. He is a ring warlock and granted his own territory. Determined to make sure his prefecture thrives, Rimon must contend with jealous rivals, demons seeking his ring for themselves, and forces he cannot yet name, all while mastering his new abilities. He will prove even the lowest can rise to challenge the gods. That sounds great as well. Cover is beautiful, sounds fantastic. Moving on to the 25th of June, we have Alone Together by S. Fitzgerald. This is sci-fi horror in the post-apocalyptic subgenre. It says, their goal, survive. It's been brewing, spreading for months. Now the line between soldier and civilian is blurred. In the cities, more than a third of the population is carrying the contagion and turning into hyper-aggressive predators with their family, friends, and neighbors as their prey. Now a group of survivors must band together and face the chaos of the new world. On the 26th of June, we have Eternal Dreams by Ryan Skeffington. This is Infinite Existence book number 2 in the space opera subgenre. It looks like this, another cool cover with the blues and the greens here. That person in the gold behind, I'm very curious about what is going on there, and there's no one-liner to give you. So, the glory of this cover, look at it as we will need to move on, because it is a book 2. On June 27th, we have Checks, Balances, and Proper Procedure in Monster Hunting by Sean O'Boyle, which sounds interesting. This is a fantasy comedy, which is not a genre blend that I see all that often. Welcome to the Wavering Plain, home to many odd and wonderful nations, one of which is the Galzarian Empire, a proud, defiant, and slightly paranoid realm, with plenty of paperwork to boot. Here, every aspect of life has the requisite laws, forms, and reports overseen by Galzar's many bureaucratical branches known as parliaments, and that includes monsters. Forella Trattle, clerk at the Monstrosity Parliament, horrid tales of bestial encounters are ordinary and mundane. Monsters kill folk, monsters get slayed, forms must be filled and reports completed. There is little to be surprised by. That is until an unusual case lands on her desks, chucking centuries of Galzarian stature out the window. She soon finds herself thrust into an administrative mess that is a beast of its own. As an office worker, interested, with the complaints involved being the worst bloody part. Amen. Amen to that. Also on June the 27th, we have Darkening Dawn by D.B. Rook, book number 1, Residuum by D.B. Rook, which is Darkening Dawn, book number 1. This is another space opera. We have Light dims on humanity's reign over the galaxy. Charles Vaughan, a teenage refugee, escapes deadly machine justice with her pertinent mother. Rescued by a data pirate crew, she falls into the path of ancient arachnid machinations that propel her back towards her mysterious origins and the heart of her unknown heritage. Interesting. And to finish us off on the 29th of June, we have Noxious by Arden Silva, and this is Bloodmaster book number 2. Another interesting cover. Here, I quite like the reds and like the border that we have in the background. It definitely draws the eye here. This is dark fantasy. It says, after the incidents in her village, Lena has a new goal, to journey to the city of Vistra and become a slayer. Interesting. Those are the books that we have coming out for June of 2025. Are you going to pick any of these up? Let me know in the comments down below. What's your cover pick? Also let me know that. If you like the content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video.